What have I discovered about Bilderberg? The
Yeah.
BBC was able to get the documents decades ago that they helped found the euro, which was actually a Nazi German plan to take over countries economically. No, that's on record. And I've interviewed members of the EU Parliament on the subject who were out there at the event.
But what's that got to do with
3,000 people. They
Bilderberg?
turned 1,000. Bilderberg is heavily involved in the EU plan and helped hatch it, and it is a Nazi plan. Humanity is awakening. Infowars.com. No, you guys. To get rid of the sovereignty of Europe. I mean, if Hitler would have come up with a corporate plan to take over, we'd all be...
He did, because in actual fact, in 1942, the German German Central Bank under Dr. Walter Funk, along with leading industrialists, set to how are we going to run the economy of Europe after we've won the war, because at that time...
You know your stuff. The EU is a Nazi plan.
Europäische Wirtschaftsgemeinschaft, the European Economic Community, that's what they called it, and it had a common agricultural policy, a common this policy, a common that policy. And I haven't done enough research on this, but I'll be willing to bet that some of the civil servants that drew that plan up actually found jobs 10 or 15 years
Prince
later.
Bernhard was an SS officer, and he was the founder.
And Queen Bernhard of the Netherlands is here. Oh, the Queen of the Netherlands is here.
And her son, who's about to be king.
Yep, and she comes to every one of these meetings.
Okay, so...
We did not win the war. What happened was we finished Hitler off. We personalised the war, so we thought that when Hitler ceased to exist, Austin, at the Wannsee conference, the Nazi intelligentsia realised that there must be a 50-50 chance that the Germans would lose the war. So what they did was they exported their big brains to Madrid. And in 1942 they set up what they called the German Geopolitical Centre. Now, the German Geopolitical Centre did nothing but think about what would happen if Germany didn't succeed in taking over Europe. And in other words, it was a long-term think tank, and they developed a long-range deception strategy called Europäische Wirtschaftsgemeinschaft, European Economic Community, published in 1942 in Berlin, is enemy of its member states. The European Union is, of course, not our friend, it is our enemy, and has been all along, because its purpose is to usurp our sovereignty and take us over. And in fact, what we now have...
Well, 1975 is the last time that we had a referendum in this country, and it wasn't about joining the EU because Ted Heath had already taken us in with no mandate, no democratic mandate to do it. But
under a trade deal, just like in the US, we're under free trade.
That's what they told us, but everybody who knew anything about it knew that wasn't the case anyway. But anyway, we got in. Harold Wilson won an election saying, I'll give you a referendum on the EU, and it was about whether we should accept his renegotiated terms, stay in or get out. And we don't know the exact figures, but the CIA put money into the Yes campaign. The BBC had meetings every day to make sure that that there was a Yes vote delivered. Major organs of the press were involved in that. So the No vote were totally outspent and outclassed in terms of the campaign.
Of Edward Heath, the Prime Minister.
As that went on, so the support in public opinion polls steadily mounted, until when we got to the point of finally concluding the negotiation, we had just on 50% support, which was very considerable.
The Department in the Foreign Office, IRD, what were they doing in terms of keeping the debate going, keeping a flow of information going for you?
They were keeping the various departments and agencies informed as to how everything was moving outside in the contest. And it wasn't propaganda, it was proper information.
How helpful was the European movement?
Very helpful. They worked very hard, and they received funds from supporters which enabled them to publish their own literature as well as ours.
I couldn't be certain about this, but I would guess that the European movement paid for most of them.
It's sometimes alleged that the funds that came to the European movement had come in often rather curious ways from the CIA in the United States. Is it anything you've heard?
Yeah, and I was absolutely astonished by it. I was rather tickled about it. Frankly, I didn't care where the money came from.
I see this as an instrument of American foreign policy at the time because, as Henry Kissinger said, who do I talk to when I want to ring Europe? He doesn't want to ring 20-odd individual nation states and have to worry about dealing with them. He wants to deal with one centralised authority, a United States of Europe. So I see this as your corporate idea may well be very valid.
Well, sure.
The brains behind this is Dr. Henry Kissinger, also known as Heinz. He's a triple agent. His Soviet code name is BOR, quite well known. We don't know what his Pan-German code name is.
The reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't just a crisis.
More people are aware that politics is not being run for their benefit. And, you know, people talk about this being a capitalist system. This isn't capitalism. Capitalism is supposed to be fair and open with a free market, and that's not what you're getting now in the modern world, where things are stitched up corporately, as you rightly point out. So it isn't a crisis of capitalism, it's a crisis of democratic government and a fair economic system. Well, I think that George Osborne, who's here, who's a minister of the government, as indeed Kenneth Clarke, may well be in breach of the ministerial rules because that lays down that they're supposed to be open about who they're talking to, and particularly with members of the press, they're supposed to log every meeting, and you've got people here who own vast swathes of the media in one way or another. So I think there may well be some questions asked, but I wouldn't hold out much hope of actually anything being done about it.
Is UKIP going to call for criminal investigations of this?
Well, I think what we'll do, when I get back to my office, I'm going to be looking at the rules in detail and writing to David Cameron and raising the issues that I think are relevant. So we'll do our best. But I've written many letters, Alex. A lot of them get ignored and don't often actually result in much action.
But big things have small beginnings.
Yeah. Alex, even as prominent and important a person as you are, I'm sure you'd find it difficult to get 10 minutes in George Osborne's diary.
Absolutely.
But he can come here and spend 2 or 3 days away from his desk, away from his onerous responsibilities, and spend it. He wouldn't do that unless it was important, and neither would any of these other people. So it must be very important or they wouldn't do it. I don't believe it's just a talking shop. These people don't have time to waste. They will only do it if it's significant and there's a real reason for doing it.
WikiLeaks documents from Bilderberg, they've confirmed are real, where Kissinger says, illegal we do immediately, unconstitutional takes longer. I mean, this is a guy known for war crimes.
Yeah.
What do you say about them using that throwaway term of conspiracy theorist?
Well, I say, what's the definition of a conspiracy? It's 2 or more people meeting in secret to achieve an end, which might be illegal or illegal. So in the strict use of the word, it is a conspiracy because we don't know what they're talking about. Unless they have no objective at all and it's just a friendly chat over a cup of tea, which none of us believe. And I think the bigger conspiracy, in inverted commas, has been the fact that the media haven't spoken about this for 59 years and have allowed it to go on without any reporting. And I think that's the real conspiracy. And now hopefully that's come to an end and the media are actually going to look at what...
Wow, if it has no power, why was the media able to be shut up for so long?
Well, they weren't shut up. Look who owns the media. The media is owned by powerful people, and those same powerful people go to meetings like this. So, in Britain, it's like in America, it's probably very similar. You've got a few powerful people that own newspapers or television stations, and of course they ultimately decide what's reported and what's not.
Sir, thank you so much.
Heinz Kissinger, Heinz Kissinger, Heinz Kissinger, Heinz. Heinz Kissinger, Heinz Kissinger, Heinz Kissinger, Heinz.
My name is Henry Kissinger, psychopath and pillager, genocide and massacre by all the grunts in uniform, from Vietnam to Desert Storm. Love it when we drop a bomb and radiate you still unborn. And then I get erections watching genocide while picking up a Nobel Prize. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, a Nazi who has never tried. I'm always on the one inside, the lawyers and the judges bribe. Others commit suicide, and then I'm on the inside of Bilderberg, holiday in Evergrade. Hated when my flight's delayed, never touched by TSA. Who would want to fill me up? Ever see my ass goes up? While I still enjoy and never loathe the young boys, blowjobs in Bohemian Grove, a homosexual treasure trove. Cooking gets up on the stove, cooking clove in Almond Grove. Shrouded in our secrecy, there's even bestiality, but we're all just old men in hoods and cloaks. I've never kissed a baby on TV. As you can see, that's just not me. I'd rather contract a dose of BD. I'm just an evil, sociopathic, genocidally insane human weed. My name is Henry